What is worse than having a flat tire on your e-bike? If you said having two flat tires, you are absolutely right. Hey, what's up YouTube world? It's Ryan from Riding in Style. And I've always heard it's not a matter of if, but when you get a flat tire. And today just so happens to be the day where not just one tire, but two tires, one on two separate bikes, ends up being flat. And I have no idea how this happened. But I have the SMLRO V3, which is a dual motor bike. So the front tire got a flat all of a sudden. I took it out for an initial ride and everything was fine, but I did feel kind of a wobble in that front tire. And so I'll be fixing that today. And then on a separate video in the future, I'll be working with the Smart Travel bike that has a flat in the rear tire. So both tires have motors attached to them, which is going to make it a little more fun, a little more challenging, but hopefully a lot more beneficial to you. So let's get started. And so the good news is that I found this out when I got home. I had just put the bike together. This was the tire that came separately in the box, and I'm not sure if it was something to do with just the way the tire and maybe the tube on the inside was. I don't think I ran over anything. I checked the entire tire, but as you can see here, it's just like completely making its way off of the rim. And that's just from moving it around, rolling it back and forth. So clearly it's not a normal, just a flat that needs to be fixed. It's like the whole setup has just disassembled itself. Have any of you ever had a problem like this before? If you have, leave a comment below and let me know how you went ahead and fixed it. So anyway, the first step before doing anything tire, rim, fork related is to take out the battery, because the last thing you need is for an accidental twist of the throttle somehow that makes these bikes go. So that's what I'm going to do first. Okay, now that the battery is removed, sometimes there's a little extra power in the line. So I just test the light here just to make sure there's no more current still lingering in these wires. Now that I'm convinced that we've got all the power removed from this bike, I'm going to go ahead and use these bad boys. And these are the handlebar jacks. Pretty popular. I mean, there are some videos on it. I highly recommend getting these because, like I said, the good news is that this flat kind of happened at home. So I'm at the comfort of my home. I'm not stuck on a trail somewhere miles from home in the pouring rain and, most worst case scenarios. But second thing we want to do, take out the battery, and then we want to actually make this display more on the flat side, and that's just to avoid any type of damage because we're going to end up rolling this bike upside down with the handlebar jacks. So this is what it looks like installed. You just want to make it nice and tight here on the handlebar grip with the Velcro strap. That's what it looks like closed. You do want to have them open. It's like a tripod setup there. Again, nice and snug. And then we are going to flip this bike upside down, and it'll essentially be resting on these jacks as well as on the back seat or rack. Because I'm at home, I have the luxury of just putting out one of these padded blankets there, and it's time to get started. But I want to show you this tire. It looks horrible. I mean, this thing looks like it died. Fortunately, when I started getting these bikes, I had already ordered extra tires, and I have extra tubes, and I even have some sealant that I'm probably going to end up using to put in. But this is just an example of why whenever you own these bikes, it's not a matter of if, but when you get a flat. So always be sure to have maybe some extra inner tubes, maybe some sealant, and also extra tires, because these knobs will wear out. These are the generic Chow Yang tires that came on this bike. It's the SMLRO V3 there. So let's get this bike turned upside down and we'll see what the problem is. So I'm really hoping I don't have to take the rim off, so I'm not undoing any of these bolts here. I'm just taking the tube out here, and I'm going to do a visual inspection just to see if there's anything. I may have to take the rim off if I have to take the tube out, but if there's a patch job that I can do just like this, this is Lazy Man's tire repair. And I'm thinking it might not even be anything wrong with the tire or the tube. It might have just been the way that the tube was placed in the tire at the factory. It seemed like it was a little warped or lopsided. It was kind of a wobbly ride when I took it out for the initial ride. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, is an assessment. All the air, most of the air is out of the tube because I took out the valve stem core. And now I'm just going to check for any punctures and holes. Now I'm going to see, I don't even need the tire levers because this tire has already worked itself off of the rim. I'm going to take off the cap here. And I was already planning on putting sealant in the tube even before this happened. So I went ahead and bought one of these. It's like the little tire nozzle remover there. So I'm just going to use this and pull out the little tire pin that's in there. So I ended up buying this little kit that has little replacement. These are the inner core of the valve stem here. So I have this little kit that has a bunch of replacements of those, as well as the caps for the valve stem, and it has this tool here which is very useful. I'd recommend getting something like this too, just to keep in your bag. It doesn't take up a bunch of space, but it has just different tools that you may need. Amazon. So what we do, we press the rear brake on the right side, locks up the back tire, pull it up, release the back brake, roll it forward, lock it up again, and lay it down. These bikes are a little heavier just because it is a dual motor bike, but these handlebar jacks go to work immediately. Little adjustment and we're golden. And because I'm at the luxury of this happening at home, I have my better industrial air compressor here. If I was stuck on the road, this would be in my bag, and this is the mini air pump by Psych Plus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some air in the tube while it's still there and just do a visual and also listen to see if there's any air seeping out. Thank you for asking. I'm in the process of putting the valve stem core back in to put the air in the tires. You guys are on fire. So did the visual check. I don't hear any air leaking out from anywhere, so it's kind of leaning towards what I thought originally, that maybe it was a poor job at the factory of placing the tube in this tire, because what was happening was, as I rode it, there was definitely a wobble, especially going into turns. And then what I noticed was that the tire on one side of the rim started to undo itself. Like the tire was actually outside of the rim on certain parts. So huge hazard, especially with these dual motor bikes that can hit 35 and even 40 miles per hour. So I'm kind of glad to be doing this and just making sure everything's okay. But as far as the tube goes, it's still a great tube. There's no need for me to replace the tube. And I'm gonna let the air out of this. I will now take out the valve stem core, and then I'm just gonna do an inspection on the inside of the tire to make sure there's no thorns or nails or anything sticking through. Doesn't feel too bad at all. All right, all the air is out of the tube. I'm gonna realign it back into the tire, this time spending a little bit more time making sure that it's flush against the inside wall, trying to work out any type of kinks or twists that might have been in there from the factory. And then I'm gonna install some slime. That's what's coming up. So up until this point in the video, you have been able to see that it is possible to fix a flat without having to remove the front tire completely. You can take the tire off the rim, pull the tube out, and do an inspection. You can even inflate the tube with the tire still on. Again, this is for a front tire, and yes, this does have a motor on it, but it doesn't have like the chain with the derailleur and all of that to have to deal with, versus if you get a flat on the back tire. However, I am still going to show how you would do it if you did have a front motor. I'm going to add some value and show how to still take off the tire. It's pretty easy, but for the sake of this video, why not? So up until this point in the video, you have been able to see that it is possible to fix a flat without having to remove the front tire completely. You can take the tire off the rim, pull the tube out, and do an inspection. You can even inflate the tube with the tire still on. Again, this is for a front tire, and yes, this does have a motor on it, but it doesn't have like the chain with the derailleur and all of that to have to deal with, versus if you get a flat on the back tire. However, I am still going to show how you would do it if you did have a front motor. I'm going to add some value and show how to still take off the tire. It's pretty easy, but for the sake of this video, why not? And again, the reason I'm doing this video is not to drag it on, but to add some value. If you think that there's some value being delivered in this video, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe while we're at like this halfway point. But this just kind of shows you why it's important to have certain tools with you when you're on the road, like a little pump that you could use, a repair kit, maybe an extra tube of slime, definitely some wrenches. So I'm using a 19mm wrench, but you know, you'll have to, of course, take the tools that you'll need for your bike specifically. Just a couple ideas of things to have on hand as you ride, so that you're not stuck in the middle of nowhere and you don't have the tools that you need. So I'm just trying to show some value, giving you some ideas of things that you may want to carry with you, especially if you're going to be riding miles away from home. So we got the two bolts removed, one on each side of the rim that's in the fork. It does have a front motor, so we're going to have to detach the motor there. This one doesn't have a zip tie. A lot of bikes just have their cable zip tied to the frame and to the fork. This one has a little screw that, you know, is in a plastic clip that's screwed in. So it's always good to have a screwdriver, some different size Allen wrenches, and an adjustable wrench. Those are just some good tools to have to start with. So this will be a Phillips head screwdriver. Take this out, motor wires disconnected, tire comes off. And that is it. So in today's video, I just wanted to show you that it is possible to diagnose, even remove the front tire and tube without even having to take the tire and the rim off of the bike through the forks. It's possible. However, if you're able to, it's easier and it's recommended to just remove the front tire. In this case, it was just a matter of taking off a couple of these bolts there and disconnecting the motor, and that's it. Do everything in reverse all the way until putting back the valve cap, and then testing the wheel spin, listening for any rubbing on the brakes. I didn't put the slime in yet. I'm gonna kind of test these tires out a little bit longer. Like I said, they were new, so I'm not sure if there was just an issue with the alignment of the tube on the inside. What I did notice is there is a little liner that lines the inside of the tube, the rim, that was a little off, like it was kind of peeled back in certain areas. So I flattened that all out. I did, you know, take out the front tire. So I wanted to do a thorough inspection, especially with these bikes. These bikes, you know, with the speeds that they can reach, you don't want to take no chances. You don't want to like cut a corner on tightening these things and double checking the brakes, right? These are powerful bikes that go fast and they're heavy. So you want to make sure that your PSI is topped off, always checking that the wear on the tires are good. And, you know, I think name brand does play a role in how safe you can feel. I didn't want to take no chances on this bike. So I did take the tire off, didn't put the slime in, but that's pretty much it. Right now, pumped it up to about 15 PSI. Front and back maximum is 20 on these bikes here. So we'll see how it goes, but there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video of just how to change a flat without actually having to take the tire off of the fork. And if you enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up. Thank you all for watching. This is Ryan from Riding in Style.
You